Yo, what's up, you guys? It's Tita here, bringing you into Tita's World. And right here, I have the author of How to Make It in the New Music Business for all of you musicians, artists, whether you're in management, PR, like whatever you are. If you are like an octopus and have 8 different tentacles going out, trying to figure out how to make it happen and how to bring your career together, this is definitely the book to check out. It has everything from social media to touring to booking to knowing how to, what the difference between asking and begging.
Sure, all of it.
Relocating. If you're looking at, do I need to change my atmosphere? So definitely check it out.
You sound like you've read this book.
Oh my God.
That's cool.
I think I might have.
All right.
Your purpose in life, the reason you're alive. Everybody's got it. What you wanna do in life, that fire inside. We're gonna help you find it. Open up your mind, no need to be shy. There's no need to hide it. Want you to find your passion, purpose, and your promise.
Alright, y'all, it's Tita Martin here, bringing you into Tita's World Unfiltered. And today I have Ari Herstand that is joining me. What's up, Ari? He's joining me with all his morning glory, his morning hair,
morning glory.
face.
I haven't looked in the mirror yet this morning, so you're my mirror right now. So as long as it looks good to you,
it looks very eclectic.
Okay, cool. This
So
is
I like
early for me. I was out late last night. I saw a bunch of great shows around Nashville, and so just rolling out. And this is the third cup of this, and so we're good to go. Let's do it. Hey.
So if we need a bathroom break anytime in between here,
Right,
we'll just hold on.
Right.
We'll play the Jeopardy music and just and I'll just sit here and wait for him to come back.
Right.
But so just diving in. So
Sure.
we're gonna have some fun with this. Boxers or briefs?
Oh man, you
I'm
going
just
right
saying.
in. First question. First question. What kind of interview did I walk into this morning? I don't even know.
No.
Okay.
Well,
It's actually boxer briefs.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's how I roll.
No, so growing up,
Yeah.
cartoon characters. Which one did you want to be? Which one did you
Oh
admire
man,
the most?
I love the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Everything Ninja Turtle.
Which one?
I was initially Leonardo with the blue bandana and the sword, but then Donatello. I was always going. I kind of veered towards
What?
Donatello, the
Yes.
purple. The baton, and then because I had one and I started getting the moves down,
Gotcha.
and I was Donatello for the rest of my childhood.
That's what I'm talking
It's like
about.
everyone starts with Leonardo because swords,
Right.
but then when you actually grow a little bit more and you get into a little bit and you understand their backstories, and then you realize actually Donatello's where it's at.
You guys, you
Donatello.
just became like my best friend in my head.
Fellow Donatello's, all right.
Yes. I love it.
All right.
So let's just jump in a little bit about your journey, a little bit about your story. One
Okay.
thing I love about you, I was able to see you in LA. I was able to see you in Nashville.
Sure.
Just hearing your story, and I was also able to read your book, and we'll get to
Right
that
on.
as well.
Okay, cool, yeah.
Is really you embody creativity. You embody like the creative spirit and someone who is of a creative nature.
Sure.
And you let that drive you into every area and every business venture that you've had. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, early on, I made a decision that I wanted to do music for the rest of my life, and I kind of started to structure my career around music. And for a while, I was 100% music 100% of the time, and which was great, but it was also somewhat limiting because I turned down other creative ventures and creative opportunities because they didn't fall rigidly in line with what I initially had envisioned of what I thought my career and my life should look like, which was just music. And moving to LA, being surrounded by so many creative people, it made me realize and just being inspired by all these creative people. And that was one of the most important things about moving to LA. And I think for anybody that's a creative person that's going into a creative field in any discipline, is to surround yourself with people who inspire you and encourage you, and other creative people, those creative energies that you can thrive on. And so moving to LA, and I was surrounded by all these creative people, so many creative energies, and I started opening myself up to other creative opportunities when they came. So I started acting, I started writing, I was writing all sorts of things, the blog of course and the book, but I was doing some screenwriting, I was doing just all of that. I was lots of acting, of course music, but I was doing some freelance music stuff. I was doing my own stuff. I was playing in a few acoustic trios. I was playing trumpet with some projects, whereas before I was just like a singer-songwriter doing one narrowly focused project. And then it just like freed me up. And because I opened myself up and allowed myself to explore these other creative opportunities and creative ventures, other doors started opening up.
Right.
And then
Let
it
me
started.
pause you for
Yeah,
one
sure.
quick second, and let's go back just a little
Okay.
bit. So when you were talking about, you had this focus of, hey, I'm singer-songwriter, this is what I'm doing,
Yeah.
this is where I'm going with it. At any point in time, once you got around the creative community, did you run into hurdles where, so often, I guess sometimes I hear people say, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a singer? Do you want to be a songwriter? Do you want to be such? So it seems like you kind of had the opposite experience of being in a creative environment. People were saying, go after it, be creative, opposed to people who may run into the environment with other creatives that say, hey, you need to choose which one.
Well, I think it was, it was more so the creative people that I was amongst in LA were just creating things, creating a bunch of different things all the time, and we all collaborated together. And so it wasn't about necessarily, as focused on kind of the like, how are we going to monetize, or how can we build this career? I mean, of course, those conversations were had, but it was more so like in the creative moments, it was like, how can we create the coolest thing? How can we challenge ourselves to become better, or just like become more creative? And so, it was collaborating. Yeah.
So let me pause you right there with, how do you challenge yourself to become more creative? Like, so take me on that journey.
Sure.
What does that look like when now it's like you against you? I'm challenging myself.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, I think, we can fall into patterns of where we do something one way.
Right.
And
sorry, y'all, my eye keeps watering over here.
Because you got something in your bottom eyelash.
It's like
oh, you got it. That was it. It was a little fur ball. Yeah, you found it. I was looking at it sitting there. I'm like, is this gonna like dip into the eye? And then you start watering, and me, I was just crying. I'm like, man, this got emotional fast. It's like, whoa, I didn't realize it was gonna go there. You start with boxers, and then boom, she's crying. That's how most of my day's going right now.
So so just going back to like the journey of challenging yourself, like pushing yourself, what did you have to do to push yourself to like really be creative?
Okay, so initially, I think like really stepping outside your comfort zone, and a good way to do that is to collaborate with people, with other creatives. So initially, like I was doing a lot of co-writing with other songwriters who I didn't know. I wasn't even, we maybe just got put together by a friend, say, hey, you should write with my friend, I think you guys would be good. It's like, okay, so we meet, for the songwriting session. We don't know each other, we talk for a little while, and then we start to write a song.
So is that where like the people coming together?
Yeah, you remember that from last night?
Is that like a cold song? Y'all, so he performed this song amazing last night.
Thank you.
Everyone in there was singing it. I woke up this morning with it in my head, like, I feel like we kind of need to do this whole little rock back and forth, but
it was definitely a unity song. No, that song, that's coming on my new record for this new funk project that I've been working on. That is the only song, ironically, on the record that was not a co-write, but all the other songs on the record for this new project was a big challenge. Right, it was just me. But all the other songs, for this new project, actually, I did kind of challenge myself to write with people who I hadn't written with before, and by doing that, and I sought out other songwriters and this producer that I was working with, who was so drastically different from the kind of music that I was creating before, to challenge myself. So that
diversity, and not being scared to like step into a lane that you're like, I don't quite know, but
but it was freeing. It was nice because I wanted to explore that side, and I want to explore that kind of, I wanted to go in that direction, because this guy really specialized in kind of this kind of throwback 70s sound, this funk soul sound, which I'm a huge fan of, but I never. Oh, yeah, you can't quite see the bell bottoms right now, but yeah, we'll zoom in on that later. But yeah, I feel like I was born in the wrong era. I mean, I feel like my heart is in the 70s, but for so long I've been doing kind of this acoustic singer-songwriter folk stuff for most of my career, kind of rock, folk. But now I feel like I'm reconnecting with what I should be doing, which is much more in kind of the throwback soul, funk style. And so I needed somebody to help kind of guide me in terms of just how the mechanics work of this, just kind of the songs and how we can kind of create in that style. So initially writing, I was teaming up with a few different songwriters that specialized with that style. And then we would we created a bunch of great songs for this. But
so there's like two things I want to hit on that you said. So one of them is, you said, I really felt like when I started writing like this, I was coming back to like me.
Yeah.
So what did you feel like with all the other things that you were writing? Did you feel like during that time of your journey, were you writing for the, were you writing because maybe that's where you were at that point in time in your life? Or was it like, I'm writing because that's the sound now, but then you felt like there's still something that is not fully resonating?
Yeah, I mean, no, I've never written necessarily following trends. Like I've never tried to be a pop artist where you do have to kind of really land on what the current trend is. Of course, I'm influenced by everything that's happening, but no, I think it has been a long journey of finding my sound, but it's an exploration. It's never.
Take me through that.
I mean, it never. It's never over, so it's a constant process, and it's, I think 10 years from now my sound is going to be very different than it is today as it was 10 years ago, and it's just like as I grow as an artist and as a person, and my influences change, and I just start to like discover other aspects and elements of myself and my life, and other things become important to me, that's when I start to kind of go in that direction. So, okay, for instance, what was the caveat that inspired this new direction that's so different from what I was doing artistically and musically before was, so I went to New Orleans to write my book. It was, have you been to New Orleans?
I have not been to New Orleans.
Oh, you gotta go.
I keep hearing about the food and just the atmosphere and everything.
It's a magical city.
You just went
it's
just
magical.
to simply just write.
Well, so it was, I got the book deal, pause. Okay, and we're back. I got the book deal in January in January, and the book was due December 15th. November 1st, I only had 20% of this book written, and I started to freak out. So my cousin lives in New Orleans. He's got a guest house. Open invitation, so I called him up.
For me too?
Well, hey, I'll give him a call if you want, right? It's great, I know.
Everybody, we're all going.
We're going to New Orleans, But it's one bedroom, but we'll all pile in.
People coming together, y'all. People coming together.
That's right. So I called him up and said, hey, do you think I could come and stay with you for a month, finish this book? I got to get out of LA because there's so many distractions, my friends, just everyone. Meetings, it's like, oh, well, what's 1 hour this day for a meeting, even though I was trying to do this as a writing day. I just couldn't get anything done in LA. So I went to New Orleans, and every day for a month, I went off the grid. Turned off all social media, turned on vacation responders for everything. Phone was off. For 10 hours a day, I was writing in this coffee shop there, and then every night I went out and saw music. And New Orleans is just like such a horn city. Like it's like brass bands are kind of the.
Is it really real to life where you can hear them on the streets? And
I mean, if you go to the French Quarter, they're everywhere. And even on Frenchman Street, there's usually a brass band that positions themselves on the corner, and it's cool. So they're definitely the kind of the brass bands all over the place, and just like a rich tradition of where that comes from. It's like the funeral marches and the second lines and everything. And I'm a trumpet player, and so immediately I'm connected to to the horns and to the brass and to the horns.
Creative avenue, right?
Yeah. And so I was going out every night and seeing all these funk bands and seeing these, you know, funk soul projects with heavy horns, and like I was so inspired by that that I felt like that's the kind of music that I needed to be creating. And so I started, actually the last night that I was there, I wrote this like my first song for this new project that was just kind of the culmination of everything that I was inspired from that last month in New Orleans.
Okay.
And that's like, that what was the shift for me. So I was on this creative journey, and I was there for just kind of a retreat, a creative retreat, which I encourage.
Changing your atmosphere just kind of really inspired something new to come out of you.
Totally. Like I went there to write the book. I didn't go there to work on music, but by going there on this creative vacation, this creative retreat, it inspired just everything that I was doing, me as an artist, and through every medium. So, you know, the book, but also through music and everything else.
So take me, so you're in New Orleans now to write your book, and so take me, what's the journey and what's the transition from, okay, I'm singer-songwriter, but now I'm gonna pursue a book, now I'm gonna become an author?
Yeah, I think it was a natural progression because I mean, the book actually was a natural progression from my blog, but the reason I started my blog, Ari's Take, was because I was just getting a lot of questions from other musicians on how I was managing my own music career and how that was happening, because I had been kind of running a successful music career on my own without a manager, without a label, without a booking agent, without a publisher, without a publicist. I mean, without anything. It was just like kind of,
really organic.
I was figuring out how to do it, and I was doing it successfully. I was going on tours, I was getting songs placed on TV shows, I was making a living doing it. And so musicians were asking me very specific questions of how certain things, how I was doing certain things.
So
how did I book this tour? Yeah, I mean, it was definitely the need. I just didn't have time to respond to everybody who was asking me these questions. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put it all up on the blog, and then I'll point people there because I want them to have the information.
Right.
Because if I know something, I want to pass that along. Like, I don't believe in competition in the music industry or in any creative industry. I feel like, you know, we should all share all of our knowledge. Everyone has something to teach.
Right. I always say the pie is big enough for everyone to have. I mean, a slice, and even if you don't get a slice and you get a fork, that's still enough. You know?
Get that right. Is seat at the table at least, you know?
Right.
And it's like we need that knowledge, and I think, you know, as long as if people have the knowledge and the work ethic and the talent and the passion and the drive, they will succeed. And I don't believe in kind of holding on to this knowledge or hoarding anything. So anytime I learned anything, I immediately would write about it on my blog and just be like, hey, this is what I learned. You should just know this because it'll help you.
Gotcha.
And so I wrote the blog initially just to help musicians because they were asking me all these questions, and I just put it up there. But then more people started coming to me saying that it was really helping them, and then I was learning more, and so I just kind of had to keep it going because it was helping so many people. And then after a while, people came to me and they said, hey, you know, I've read all your blog articles, and it's great, but I'm an information overload. My head is spinning. I don't know which direction to go. And so they said, like, I need focus. I need something that can guide me in a direction. I need something to piece the dots together because I'm all over the place. I'm reaching for this. I'm reaching for that. Like someone tells me I got to do this, so I go this way. Someone tells me I got to do this, I go this way. You know. And so I'm like, all right, let me focus all of these things, everything that I've learned, into this like very comprehensive manual guide, and that's what the book is. And so I felt like I needed to write this book because of it was filling the need. And so I didn't set out to write a blog or write a book or be a writer or anything like that. I set out to be a musician. But that was another creative pursuit, kind of like we were talking about before, that I didn't shut down. I just kind of opened that up as like, okay, why not? Why not write this book?
It seems like that need, you seeing that there was a need there, it seems like you come off to me as like the type of person that is, when you see people need help, you are open to saying, you know what? Yeah, I'm willing to, just like you said, I'm willing to share. I'm willing to, provide that information. I'm willing to, let you know, how it happened, how I did it. And so I think that that's really unique because a lot of times you find that some people are like closed off. They're kind of like, what do people want from me? And they start, long-handed spoon and, and those type things. So I think, like, I just give you kudos just on that, along with having that type of humble spirit where you're like, you know what? Gosh, it was a journey that I had, but people need that same. People are taking that same journey.
Yeah, I mean, the more you put out, the more you get back, and it's like, when I was so closed off and focused just on me and how to grow my career, and not just trying to really. It closed me off, and I didn't grow as quickly as I could. I didn't build my community as big as it could have been, or as it is now, because I was so narrowly focused on what I was doing. And then once I started opening that up and focusing on how I can help other people just with a little bit that I knew at the time, that started to just open up my community, my career, my creativity, and finding such a larger, greater creative community that just we all kind of rose together. And so I think I started to excel a lot quicker once I started just kind of putting out this information and this knowledge and sharing it, and then we all kind of rose quicker.
Cool. So we're gonna go ahead and like get ready to wrap this up, but I want to. There's something that you touched on the other day that I found really interesting, because Ari may not have even been Ari at this point in time.
Okay.
Had you quit? And you told a really interesting story about a newspaper blogger who like slammed you
3 times.
Three times. And most people, when I think about that, and I think of the magnitude to the reach of the audience that he was reaching, a lot of people would have like hidden their shell. They would have just accepted what that one person was sharing with the rest of the world, and they would have just stopped. So take me just a little bit on that journey. How did you actually push through that? If you want to tell, the audience just a little bit about that story.
Sure.
To just like, what is that? Because we all run against that wall at some point in time of someone that's like,
right.
No,
you should stop and give up. Right. I mean, this was on a. There have always been people that have questioned my career choice throughout my life, especially my parents. They were very uncomfortable with me choosing music.
Mom.
Right.
Thanks, Dad.
I mean, they've come around, but it's just out of fear. They
absolutely.
want the best for me,
Absolutely.
and everybody wants the best for everyone else. And most people outside of music don't understand the music industry, and so it's scary to them because they think that either you have to be a superstar, which is a very slim chance, or you're going to be a starving artist. They don't understand that there's this middle class of musicians that exists and that you can be, and there's this whole creative class that is succeeding on a level that doesn't necessarily penetrate their world, so they don't understand, they don't think it exists.
Exactly.
And so what's so scary for so many people outside of creative industries, especially music. So this case was, I was starting to see some success in Minnesota. I was kind of becoming this like local, I don't know. I was bringing a lot of people to my shows. People were talking about it.
A lot of people, y'all. This wasn't like 10 people in the audience show.
So I was like selling out some venues around. Yeah, I was selling out these venues, and I was starting to kind of make some noise around the scene, and so the people started to pay attention. And the music editor for one of the newspapers there didn't really like what I was putting out, I guess, and he wrote 3 hate pieces on me over the course of 4 months.
Do you remember the title of the last one? I remember
it was I remember the title. It was like, okay, I'll just step you through them. The first one was called Herstand, Her Sucks. That was the title of the first article. The second article that he wrote on me, it was the kind of the survival guide given out to, it was a freshman survival guide given out to all these incoming students going to the University of Minnesota. It was 10,000 students that were getting this guide as soon as they, were welcome to this, welcome to the university. Here's everything to do in Minneapolis. Here's all the best things to do. And it was the top 3 best bands of Minnesota and top 3 worst bands of Minnesota. I was #1 worst band of Minnesota. And then
he was really
and then
for you.
oh yeah,
he had a personal
I thought I must have slept with his girlfriend or something like that. I'm like,
did you
what
not sign something?
I'm like,
did
man,
you not
what
point him out in the show
I'm
one time
like,
and-
why does he hate me so much? We never met.
Right.
Like, but the thing, and the final article was in the joke edition of the paper, and I was on the cover, and my title was "Surgeons Attempt to Reattach Local Musicians' Balls Fails." So
you guys so disrespectful.
well, you
Look
know,
at him now.
right.
Look at him now.
You know, but the thing was, is like, what I realized was when I read these articles, dude wasn't even talking about my music. He never even, I don't know if he listened to my music, or he definitely was never at one of my shows. It was more that I was making noise, and
Maybe he was a failed artist who was trying to make noise.
I don't know, but you just like, I'd reached this level where people were paying attention, and you kind of had to pay attention, and you had to form an opinion. And it was, which now looking back, it was actually a nice, it's a great place to be, where somebody has to form an opinion about you, whether they love you or they hate you, and that's fine. And like, when haters come out, it's because they care about you enough to hate you. So it's like, people don't hate things that they don't care about. They just ignore it.
Right.
And so I now wear it as a badge of honor that I had haters, which is fine. And I think that's something that at the time, it stung having these articles written about me, but it stung less because then a month later I was playing, I was supporting artists playing in front of 3,000 people.
And
quit? Because I would say, because my career was on this trajectory, it was going where things were happening. Like, I was playing in front of hundreds or thousands of people a night, and it was like, okay, this dude doesn't get what I'm doing, but these 3,000 people do.
Right.
So, and I see them at my show, and they're like singing along. It's like, okay, like, they get it.
What would you say for the artist, though, that maybe has something like that happening, but maybe they don't have 1,000 people in the audience right now?
And that wasn't every show. There were some shows where 7 people showed up. So it was, those were difficult moments too. So it's like, as an independent artist, it's not, and this is like, when you get into the weeds, it's not all glamorous. Like, there were some shows that were incredible, and there was 600 people there, or a couple thousand, or whatever. Then there's some shows that suck, and there's 12 people there, and it's really tough. And it's like, you have to push through that too.
Right.
And I've had, as an indie artist, I've literally had shows back to back where one night I'm playing in front of 600 people, and the next night I'm playing in front of 12 people, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Say that one more time. And it's fine.
And it's fine.
It's fine.
Because the thing is like, as long as you're doing something that you believe in, that's inspiring other people, and you're creating meaningful art that you can stand behind, then it's all worth it. Right. And you're gonna be okay.
So is that your mantra, would you say? Or what's your mantra
Yeah.
to stand behind, just as a creative?
I think it's staying pure to my art and my soul, and to really, I think, put out and give out more than I try to take, and really. So
you're a giver.
Yeah.
And it's known just by law of attraction. Givers tend to be high reciprocals of receivers as a receiver.
Yeah, and
I think I just jacked that whole little thing up. But,
I got you. I understand what you're saying, but I totally agree. I mean, that's what I've experienced, and I think it's yes, it's really just finding what makes you happy, what fulfills you, and staying true to that.
Absolutely. You know what? I won't even say anything else after that. You guys, thank you for joining me and Ari Herstand in Tita's World, Unfiltered. We'll talk to you later.
Cool.
Find me on your social media at Ari Herstand, or Ari's Take if you want to follow the blog.
Want you to find your passion, purpose, and your promise.